welcome to the Rime Buddhist Center's Dharma Talk podcast, Achieving Peace Through Compassion. This podcast is a recording of the Dharma Talks given during our Sunday service.
There's a really short story I like to share sometimes, and I'm going to share that at the start here, and that is this. Student goes to his teacher and he says, "Teacher, I'm feeling very discouraged. What should I do?" And the teacher pauses for a moment and then he says, "Encourage other people. Encourage other people." So today I'm going to encourage you, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to encourage you. We are going to talk about joy, specifically sympathetic joy. But joy in general, we're going to talk about joy. And I'm going to start by telling you about my kids. If you hate kids, I'm sorry. So my son is a freshman in high school, and he has joined debate. So now he goes on debate tournaments, and he loves it. He loves it very much. He likes arguing and learning how to win arguments. And I don't know if that's the lesson from debate, but he really loves it, and he's found what he wants to do. And more than that, he's found his people. It feels like he's found his people. Did you guys find your people in high school? I don't think I did. But I'm telling you that to tell you that I'm happy for my son. I'm happy for him in the same way that I can be happy for myself. And that's what we're calling sympathetic joy. And I want to tell you about my daughter too. My daughter is a senior in high school. And that's weird to think about. When I started going to the Rime Center, my daughter was 3, and my son he learned how to walk and would run on the cushions at the Rime Center. That's how little he was. So that's weird to think about. But anyway, my daughter is a senior in high school, and she's now applying for colleges and getting offered scholarships. And, her life can go anywhere. And I'm happy for her too. And of course, I'm glad she's getting offered scholarships because I can't pay for college. But also I'm glad because her life could take her anywhere. So I have that kind of joy for my daughter as well. And if you have kids, maybe you understand. It's easy to be happy for our kids. And I'm going to talk about sort of regular joy, and then I'm going to circle back and talk about sympathetic joy some more. But what we're going to think about is if we can expand that circle and have more people we can be happy for. That's the goal we're talking about today. But first, I'm going to read to you a quote from this book, Boundless Heart, which we're studying in For Immeasurables class. And in the book, the author, Christina Feldman, she says, and I quote, "Cultivating joy as a way of being in the midst of all conditions and events of our life is an invitation to radically transform our understanding of joy, experiencing it not as a state, but as the place where our heart rests. We learn to cultivate the gladdened heart in the midst of life with all its difficulties and challenges." Okay, we'll see, right? That sounds really aspirational. Can we cultivate joy all the time? I don't know. But what are the things that make us joyful? Usually joy comes and it's like very short-lived. I tend to think, many of us tend to think that if we have enough money, then we're going to have happiness. And, we always hear the message, money doesn't make you happy, right? And I would like to find out, but that's fine. We always hear that message. I'm reminded of that Notorious B.I.G. song, I'm sure you all know it, where in the hook, Kelly Price says, it's like the more money we come across, the more problems we see. I've not experienced that myself, but I would like to find out, right? I would like to find out, okay, is there problems with money? I'm sure there is, though. But other things make us joyful, too. Getting the relationship we want, getting the car we want, whatever we can try to get. It's usually getting things. But I'm going to tell you about what is described as the components of joy in a Buddhist context. And this word, we're calling this word joy. The original word is mudita, and it's just been translated as joy. I think it's a little broader than what we think of with words like joy and happiness, but that's okay. But a component of it that I never thought of until I read it in a Buddhist book is integrity. Integrity is a component of joy. And the Buddha called this the bliss of blamelessness. The bliss of blamelessness. And in this book, Boundless Heart, she writes, and I quote, "This is the joy of blamelessness, to live without regret, to live in a way in which no one fears us, and to be trustworthy in all we do." End quote. So at first I thought, well, how does that bring us joy? And I did think about, there's a famous Mark Twain quote that I like where he said, "Oh, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember what you said. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember what you said." And I like that. But I think when I think of blamelessness, I think of, I always think I'm in trouble. So if somebody says, "Hey, we need to talk," I think, "Oh no, what did I do?" Right? Or if my boss says, "Hey, come to my office," I think, "Oh no," right? And that maybe if we have that bliss of blamelessness, then I won't hold on to those feelings. That's what I hope anyway, that I won't hold on to always thinking I'm in trouble, always thinking I'm doing something wrong. So that's how integrity ties to that for me. But another aspect of joy in this context is appreciation. Appreciation. That is, one, can we feel like we have enough? It's hard to feel like we have enough. We get the message, I think we get the message from our culture all the time that not only do we not have enough, but also maybe we aren't enough ourselves, right? So I don't think about how good the sun feels on my skin or how nice it feels outside when I'm worried about paying bills or when I'm worried about different things going on, right? I'm too busy worrying, but I could, right? I could think about the sunshine on my skin. I could think about the beautiful fall weather we're having instead of thinking about the things that are bothering me. There is less room for joy when we don't appreciate what we have. So I'm going to read to you one more quote from this book, Boundless Heart. And this kind of really gets at what we're talking about when we talk about expanding joy. She says, "Empathic or appreciative joy that celebrates the happiness and good fortune of the people we meet in our lives. That's what mudita is. Just as our hearts can tremble with empathy in the face of pain and distress, our hearts can tremble with empathy in the face of happiness." So last week, we talked about compassion, and we talked about, can we expand our compassion? Can we include more people in our hearts? And this is the same thing. It's just the flip side. So like I said earlier, it's very easy to have joy for my kids when they're succeeding, when they're doing well, when they're happy. It's very easy. And I imagine if you don't have kids, you can think of someone in your life who it's easy to have sympathetic joy for. I think I'm thinking of relationships a little bit, and I'm not an expert on relationships. I'm going through divorce. I don't mean to brag, but in relationships, you got to have sympathetic joy for your partner. I think we could instead be in competition with our partner, and that's a real problem. That's not feeding your partnership very well. And in Words of My Perfect Teacher by Patrul Rinpoche, when he talks about joy, he talks about it in relationship to jealousy. He says, "The meaning of sympathetic joy is to have a mind free of jealousy. You should therefore try to train your mind with all sorts of methods to prevent those harmful jealous thoughts from arising." Comparing is another thing that steals our joy. When we see someone else doing well and we think, why not me? That's a problem too. That steals all our joy too. So I do want to suggest that one thing we can work on is expanding our joy and learning to really be happy when we see other people doing well and succeeding. It doesn't have to be all self-oriented, and it doesn't have to be all directed at the people close to us. So that's a thing we can reflect on and try to practice in our lives. So that's it for today. Thank you, and I love you all.
Thank you for listening to the Rime Buddhist Center's Dharma Talk podcast. Music was provided by Barefoot Brand Music. Please consider supporting the Rime Buddhist Center by making a donation at our website at www.rimecenter.org/donate.